This episode is powered by Safety FM.
Rated R Safety Show is the... I am not reading this.
The following program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, it doesn't matter who the host is.
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Rated R Safety Show. How are you doing today? Today's Tuesday, September the 10th, day 253 of the year. Only 112 more days left. So I have to tell you, so far, it's already been a pretty interesting week for me. How about for yourself? Have you been privileged enough to be at the National Safety Council Congress down in San Diego, California? Well, if you haven't, it's understood. Not everybody can make it to the conference or Congress or whatever the hell you want to call it. But there seems to be some good times going down there in good old San Diego. I, this year, did not make it out to the conference. But let's get started in talking about some things here. I know from time to time, we have people come on and rant and talk about some very, very interesting things on how they see them. And I know you and I have conversations all the time. But I think it's interesting as of late on how we're seeing more and more safety professionals come out into the space of teaching other safety personnel. And I'm talking from a grand scale. No big deal there. That's perfectly fine. I was reading about a particular person that has just recently joined the safety field. And I am saying recently. And they are marketing themselves as a safety professional that goes out and trains people, but they've only been in the safety profession less than 6 months. How do you feel about that? Would you want to be trained by a safety professional who's been doing this for less than 6 months? And the only certification that I could find was a 3-day course that they took. Do you feel that that makes that person a safety professional? Or am I just overthinking it? I sometimes have the habit of doing that. Other things I would like to point out real quick. How often do the people inside of your organization say that they want to actually be able to do something to change the way that the organization runs from a safety perspective, but they don't want to live up to their portion of the bargain? Do you see that a lot? And if you do, how do you manage it? How do you handle it? Do those people come across as bosses or managers? Are they leaders? How exactly do you visualize them? I don't know what you think, but I think it's a little bit odd on how that works. Change, but no change. Change, but change. I don't get it sometimes. Anyways, let's not rant too long, and let's get you started with the news.
Safety in a way never heard of before. The Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
As I continue to look down the interwebs, I always wonder, what information do you care about? You come here Monday through Friday, mostly at noontime when we drop the new thing, opposed to listening to us on safetyfm.live, but that's perfectly fine. But how do you look at this? What do you care to hear about? So let's start off with something interesting. Let me take out my aligners. Credit rating services Monday downgraded Ford's credit rating to speculative status on Monday, a status also known as junk. The automaker Weeks financial outlook on the eve of a major restructuring was cited for the reason for the downgrade. Ford's financial performance during a period which global automotive conditions have been fairly healthy. So, I don't know if that's a good thing for the Ford Motor Company. I look at it and I go, is it time to purchase a Ford, or are they going to be gone soon? I hope I'm wrong. So I don't know if this is good news, what I'm about to tell you next. America's 3 biggest metro areas are shrinking. After a brief period of growth, New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago are all seeing the population of their greater metro areas decline. And the shrinkage isn't small. In 2018, New York lost about 100,000 people to the suburbs and other cities. A new examination by The Atlantic mostly pins the exodus on the rising cost of living in those cities, with younger families choosing to live in warmer climates like Texas. The major Texas metro areas, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston, have collectively grown by more than 3 million, and that's with an M, since 2010. International migration to the big 3 metro areas is also down, helping to accelerate the decline of the population there. So, let's see. If you're in New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles, is that a good thing for you that the place isn't so freaking packed anymore? Or do you look at it and go, it might be time to bail? Well, I normally don't like to cover a lot of politics, but hey, I guess if it's out of a different country, we can do it. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is at an impasse with lawmakers over the Brexit ordeal caused by Johnson's to disband Parliament early Tuesday, UK time. Parliament thwarted Johnson by passing legislation barring a no-deal Brexit in which there would be no ordinary plan in place when the UK leaves the European Union. A decision was made by the British people in referendum 3 years ago, before being temporarily disbanded and sent home. Parliament also passed a law rejecting Johnson's call for a new election to break the political gridlock. Well, that's going to kind of put you in a rough place. But I guess I look at it and go, oh, politics. You got to love them. So did you hear about this particular one? I found this one interesting. Cable news outlets is suing liberal commentator Rachel Maddow for $10 million. The One America News Network, or OANN, filed the defamation lawsuit against Maddow for malicious and recklessly smearing the OANN network as a Russian propaganda outlet. Maddow has responded to OANN's criticism on her show by alleging the network really literally is paid by the Russian propaganda. So, if you're too honest, I guess sometimes, when it comes to news, like here, you can get in trouble for that shit. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And I look at it and I go, freedom of expression? Well, F that, I think, right? You can't do that. And is she smearing them if they're really getting money from the Russians? Think about it. What do you think? Let's continue. North Korea launched more missiles tests on Tuesday morning local time. The rogue regime fired 2 unknown projectiles from southern province towards the east, the general direction of Japan, but Japanese officials said they detected no missiles in the airspace. The missile launch are the North's 8th missile test since late July, but the Kim regime is also claiming that it's open to renewing nuclear talks with the West. So I look at it and I go, we keep on seeing some craziness coming out of there. And I look at it and I go, what is it next that's going to happen? Definitely not safety oriented, but let's talk about some hospitals there for a second. Hospitals are increasing aggression in collecting medical debts in contribution to increasing financial ruin of families. What? The University of Virginia health system is pointed as a major villain. Over 6 years, the health system and its doctors sued former patients more than 36,000 times over $106 million, ceasing wages, bank account, properties, homes, and forcing families into bankruptcy. A Kaiser Health news analyst has found this information out. The UVA has sued patients for as little as $13.91. And you heard me correctly there, my friends. $13.91. And as much as $1 million during the recent years before enacting a policy limiting lawsuits to patients owing more than $1,000. So holy shit, dude. You're telling me that a pretty large hospital is going after people that are making them bankrupt. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that some privately held hospitals are in there to make money. I am not complaining about that. But man, getting them all the way out to bankruptcy. Now, I know that there are some people that play the system. I am not complaining. I am just saying that is crazy. So for the last few weeks, we have been off and on talking about autonomous vehicles. Here's a good one for you. There's technically no law against falling asleep behind the wheel of a self-driving car, at least in Massachusetts. A Twitter video posted recently shows an onlooker watching a driver of a self-driving Tesla napping behind the wheel, a sight the onlooker called so strange and baffling. So, do you think that those cars are trustworthy enough already, where you can actually be behind the wheel and sleeping? I'm asking your opinion. I have an opinion, but I'm sure you don't care. I always like when we start going into some of these weird stories that I find. A Chinese radio telescope has picked up a strange series of repeated fast radio bursts from a source about 3 billion with a B, light years away from Earth. There is no known source of the burst, but scientists are optimistic that the new detection could shed light on the phenomenon. The most intense radio burst in the universe. The Chinese observatory is the largest, most sensitive radio telescope ever built. Alien hunters should not get too excited, though. Since they are so far away, the bursts are likely originated from about 3 billion years ago. So think about that. 3 billion years. Why the hell are we getting the information now? Can we speed up the process? Okay, that's just a joke of me being a jackass. So did you hear this one that got everybody together? So let's talk about it. The Attorney General from 50 states, Puerto Rico, and D.C. banded together on Monday to announce the bipartisan probe into the business practices of Google. The lawsuit is led by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and is intended to ensure the free and fair market, alleging that Google engages in anti-competitive business practices. So, what do you think that's going to have the effect on? Do you think prices will go up, prices will go down, or what the hell's going to happen with the data that Google's taking from you? Do you think it's going to be a good thing or it's going to be a bad thing? And how bad is it going to impact YouTube, my friend? YouTube. Yeah, I play around on YouTube every once in a while. Not anything you care to see. So, let's talk about the days of the year that you can celebrate. One of my favorite parts of the show. Here we go. Swap Ideas Day. Alpaca Day. TV Dinner Day. Housekeepers Day. And the most important day today that you can celebrate is World Suicide Prevention Day. Now, if you are a listener of our station, you'll notice that on today's episode of Safety FM, the flagship show, we do talk about the World Suicide Prevention Day. And it's a very important day. It's also a week that's celebrated, but today they celebrate the day in particular. And I think it's a great opportunity to go out there and look up information on World Suicide Prevention Day. I would recommend strongly to you to go to a website called To Write Love on Her Arms. It has some great information out there. And I think that it's something that if it can't help you, it might help someone you know. Anyways, I know who you are. You know who I am. Love you. Mean it. Bye.
Duh. More sarcasm than a Mortal Kombat beatdown. Rated R. Safety Show.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
This episode has been powered by Safety FM.